Did you know that one of the most common concerns among older men isn't about cholesterol, blood pressure, or even memory? It's about whether their private habits could be quietly working against them. For many seniors, particularly men over 60, there's a question that often lingers in the back of the mind, but rarely makes it into casual conversation. Does masturbation cause erectile dysfunction? It's a question that can carry shame, confusion, or even guilt. Maybe you've heard a buddy from the golf course mention it in passing. Maybe a late-night Google search led you to conflicting advice. Or maybe it's just something you've quietly wondered about but never really explored. The truth is, this topic deserves attention. Not just for the sake of curiosity, but for your overall health, confidence, and peace of mind. As we age, so many things about our bodies shift and change. And let's be honest, not all those changes are welcome. Our energy levels drop, recovery takes longer, and yes, sexual health can become a bit more complicated. But before we jump to conclusions or buy into myths passed down from locker room talk in the 70s, it's important to take a closer look at what science actually says. Could your solo habits really be to blame for ED? Or is something else going on beneath the surface? Now, before we go any further, let me ask you something. Have you ever changed your behavior because of something you heard about sexual health, without ever really knowing if it was true? If you have, you're not alone. And if this topic has ever made you feel isolated or hesitant to ask your doctor, you're in the right place. Stick around, because we're breaking it all down in a judgment-free, fact-based way. Just like having a good chat with a trusted friend over coffee, only with a little science thrown in. This conversation is especially important for adults in their 60s and beyond, because sexual health doesn't just disappear with age, it evolves. And understanding how our bodies function as we age, particularly in the realm of intimacy and pleasure, can help us age with more grace, confidence, and even joy. It's not just about sex. It's about connection, self-esteem, and the kind of well-being that shows up in every part of your life, from how you sleep to how you feel walking into a room. Plus, in a world flooded with misinformation, myths, and shame-based narratives around senior sexuality, it's time for a clear-eyed, respectful, and truly useful discussion. In this video, we're going to uncover the surprising truth behind the link, or lack thereof, between masturbation and erectile dysfunction in older adults. We'll talk about what causes ED, what role solo activity really plays, and how to maintain a healthy sexual life well into your golden years. You'll hear what doctors and researchers actually say, not just what you might have overheard or assumed. We'll also explore how the mind-body connection influences everything from desire to performance, and why taking care of your sexual health can be one of the most empowering things you do in your 60s, 70s, and beyond. So, whether you're single, in a long-term relationship, or simply curious about your body's changes, stick with us. And if you find this topic as important as we do, consider tapping that subscribe button so you don't miss out on more honest, age-relevant health conversations just like this one. Now, let's begin by understanding the bigger picture. What exactly is erectile dysfunction, and why does it become more common as we age? Erectile dysfunction, often shortened to ED, might sound like a technical term, but for many older men, it's a very real and very personal experience. Simply put, ED is when a man has trouble getting or keeping an erection firm enough for sexual activity. It's incredibly common, especially as we get older. In fact, studies suggest that nearly half of men over the age of 60 experience some degree of erectile dysfunction. But here's where things get interesting. It's not always just about age. ED isn't some automatic switch that flips when you hit a certain birthday. It's influenced by a mix of physical, psychological, and even lifestyle-related factors. And understanding those elements is key to separating fact from fiction. First, it's helpful to look at what's happening in the body during an erection. It's not just about desire, though that's part of it. An erection actually involves a complex dance between the brain, nerves, hormones, blood vessels, and muscles. The brain sends signals through the nervous system, triggering the release of chemicals that relax muscles and allow blood to flow into the penis. If any part of that chain breaks down due to stress, poor circulation, nerve damage, or hormone imbalances, the result can be ED. So, while aging does bring natural changes to blood flow and nerve function, those changes don't automatically lead to dysfunction. Many men remain sexually active well into their 70s and 80s, especially when they're proactive about their health. Now let's bring masturbation into the picture. This is where myths tend to creep in. For generations, people have whispered that too much solo activity might wear you out, or damage your sensitivity, or worse, cause permanent sexual problems. These ideas have deep roots in outdated beliefs, often based more on morality than medical evidence. In reality, masturbation is a normal, natural part of human sexuality. It's something that nearly all people do at some point in their lives, regardless of age. For older adults, especially those who are single or whose partners have passed or are no longer sexually active, it can be an important way to stay connected to their own bodies. That said, it's also true that how we approach solo activity can vary greatly from person to person. For some, it's occasional and relaxed. For others, it can become more compulsive or tied to stress, boredom, or loneliness, especially in retirement, where routines change and time stretches differently. And this is where some people start to wonder, am I doing this too much? Could it be affecting my ability to perform when I want to be intimate with a partner? These are valid questions, but they deserve clear, evidence-based answers, not shame or guesswork. It's also important to talk about mental health, which plays a huge role in sexual well-being. Anxiety, depression, grief, and even low self-esteem can all impact desire and performance. And yes, if someone feels guilt or stress about masturbation, or sexuality in general, that mental weight can create a self-fulfilling cycle. The more worried you are about performance, the harder it becomes to perform. This is especially true for men raised in generations where emotional health wasn't openly discussed and sexual topics were kept quiet or even taboo. So when we talk about erectile dysfunction and masturbation, what we're really talking about is how a person's physical body, emotional state, and personal habits interact over time. It's never as simple as pointing to one behavior as the cause. That's why this conversation matters so much. Because for seniors, navigating new phases of life, whether it's a shift in relationships, health, or identity, understanding your body's signals with clarity and compassion can change everything. And that brings us to the heart of the matter. Does masturbation truly cause ED, or is it just getting the blame for something else entirely? Let's dive into what the science actually says. When it comes to the relationship between masturbation and erectile dysfunction, the scientific evidence paints a much more nuanced picture than the old wives' tales would have you believe. In truth, masturbation on its own does not cause erectile dysfunction. That's a finding echoed by leading medical organizations and sexual health experts around the world. But the way masturbation is practiced, and more importantly, how it fits into a person's lifestyle, mindset, and expectations, can influence how someone experiences intimacy and performance. So while the act itself isn't harmful, context matters. Let's start with frequency. One of the biggest misconceptions is that there's a magic number, some invisible line where masturbating too much will cause damage. But the truth is, There's no universal rule. What's healthy for one person might not be for another. For example, if a man is masturbating multiple times a day to cope with stress or boredom, and it begins to interfere with other parts of life, relationships, motivation, energy levels, that might be worth exploring. Not because masturbation is dangerous, but because it might be serving as a substitute for deeper emotional needs. That kind of over-reliance can sometimes dull responsiveness over time, especially if the body becomes conditioned to a certain kind of stimulation that's different from real-life intimacy. That leads us to another key factor: how stimulation happens. Today, many older adults are increasingly tech-savvy and might turn to internet content for stimulation. While there's nothing inherently wrong with that, it's possible for certain types of fast-paced, highly visual stimulation to desensitize the brain's arousal pathways over time. In simpler terms, if the brain becomes conditioned to intense, always available digital stimulation, it might struggle to respond to the slower, more emotionally connected cues of real-life intimacy. That doesn't mean you have to swear off online content, but it does mean it's helpful to be mindful of how it's being used and how it makes you feel afterward. On the flip side, regular masturbation can actually have positive effects on erectile function for many older adults. It promotes healthy blood flow, helps maintain tissue elasticity, and keeps the erectile mechanism active, just like using your muscles helps keep them strong. For men without regular sexual partners, solo activity can help preserve function by keeping those physiological systems engaged. Some studies have even suggested that regular ejaculation may support prostate health, although more research is still emerging in that area. It's also worth talking about the role of expectations. Many men grew up in eras where performance was emphasized more than pleasure or connection. The pressure to perform perfectly every time can create anxiety, especially as the body changes with age. When someone experiences a few off days, maybe a softer erection or difficulty staying aroused, it's easy to panic and assume something is seriously wrong. But occasional difficulty is completely normal, especially in one's 60s or 70s. It doesn't mean you've lost your ability or that solo activity is to blame. Often, it's the stress about it that causes more trouble than the issue itself. Medical conditions and medications are another important part of the equation. High blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, and even common prescriptions for anxiety or cholesterol can all impact erectile function. In many cases, these issues play a far bigger role than any solo activity ever could. That's why it's so important to take a full-picture approach. Looking only at one habit, like masturbation, without considering medications, health history, stress levels, or emotional well-being, is like blaming a single missing screw for a whole engine not starting. So no, masturbation doesn't cause erectile dysfunction, but how you relate to it, physically, emotionally, and mentally, can influence your overall experience of arousal and intimacy. If it becomes compulsive, guilt-ridden, or emotionally isolating, it's worth gently examining. On the other hand, when it's practiced with awareness and balance, it can be a perfectly healthy part of aging sexually, confidently, and on your own terms. Now, let's talk about how all of this connects to your daily life. Because understanding the science is one thing, but knowing what to do with it is what really matters. So now that we know masturbation doesn't cause erectile dysfunction, the question becomes, how can this information actually help you in real life? If you're in your 60s, 70s, or even older, this isn't just about clearing up a myth. It's about understanding your body and your choices with more freedom and less fear. Because the truth is, sexual health in your later years can be vibrant, fulfilling, and deeply rewarding, especially when approached with the right perspective. Let's start with the mindset. Many men carry decades of quiet worry about whether their habits are normal. But aging doesn't mean letting go of your sexuality. It means adjusting to a new rhythm. That might mean erections aren't as spontaneous or frequent as they used to be. It might mean needing a little more time or stimulation to get aroused. And guess what? That's perfectly okay. When you stop measuring yourself against how things were in your 20s or 30s, you open the door to enjoying what's possible now, with much less pressure and a lot more presence. That also means looking at masturbation not as a problem, but as a tool, something that can support your physical health, ease stress, and help you stay in tune with your body. If you're feeling unsure about what's healthy, consider how you feel afterward. Do you feel relaxed, energized, or do you feel more isolated or frustrated? Those emotional cues are just as important as the physical ones. And if solo activity has started replacing social or emotional connection, that's not a cause for shame. It's simply a signal that you might benefit from shifting things a bit. For example, you might try exploring different kinds of touch, or even slowing things down to rediscover sensation in a more mindful, less rushed way. Staying sexually active, in any form, also benefits your body. Gentle sexual activity increases blood circulation, boosts mood-enhancing hormones, and can even help with sleep. If you're managing chronic conditions like diabetes or heart disease, staying engaged with your sexual health can offer motivation to stick with treatment plans, eat well, and stay active. In fact, many doctors now recognize sexual wellness as a key part of overall wellness, something that deserves real attention, not silence or stigma. And if you're in a relationship, this is a great opportunity to communicate more openly with your partner. For some couples, aging brings new challenges in the bedroom, but also the chance for more intimacy and trust. If EDE is part of the picture, knowing that masturbation isn't the cause can remove unnecessary blame or tension. In some cases, partners can even explore mutual pleasure in new ways, finding connection beyond the pressure of performance. That might mean cuddling, massage, or rediscovering other forms of physical affection that build emotional closeness. Pleasure doesn't need to disappear with age. It just asks us to evolve with it. Of course, if you're single or dating again after years in a long-term relationship, all of this still applies. Feeling confident in your own body is a powerful foundation for new intimacy, and if you're concerned about ED, don't be afraid to talk to your doctor. Many men are surprised to learn that their issues are related to medication or an easily treated condition. In some cases, lifestyle changes, like losing a little weight, quitting smoking, or getting more exercise, can significantly improve erectile function. It's all connected. So here's the bottom line. Masturbation doesn't harm your sexual health. But paying attention to how, why, and when you engage with it can help you use it in a way that supports your broader well-being. Aging doesn't mean giving up. It means adapting. And when you approach your sexuality with curiosity instead of fear, compassion instead of judgment, you set yourself up for not just better health, but deeper confidence and connection in this powerful chapter of life. You deserve that freedom. And if this conversation has resonated with you so far, keep watching. We're almost there. Let's wrap things up with a few key takeaways and a gentle reminder about what really matters when it comes to aging and intimacy. So here we are, at the end of a conversation that's been long overdue for many. If there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's that masturbation does not cause erectile dysfunction. That old myth, one that's been passed along through generations, wrapped in shame and secrecy, simply doesn't hold up under science or experience. What does matter is how we relate to our bodies, how we care for our minds, and how we stay connected to our sense of vitality and self-worth as we age. Sexual health in your 60s and beyond isn't about recapturing your youth. It's about embracing your present. That means learning what your body needs now, not what it used to need. It means understanding that arousal, pleasure, and intimacy evolve over time. And that's nothing to be ashamed of. Whether you're partnered or single, active, or exploring new rhythms, your sexuality is still a meaningful part of who you are. And yes, that includes masturbation, not as a problem to be fixed, but as a valid, healthy expression of personal care and pleasure. If you've been carrying doubts, fears, or silent questions about your sexual health, know that you're not alone. Millions of men, especially those over 60, grapple with these issues privately, often thinking they're the only ones. But breaking that silence is the first step toward clarity, confidence, and even healing. When we talk openly about topics like erectile dysfunction and masturbation, we not only clear away misinformation, we create space for real understanding, compassion, and progress. The body changes, yes, but it also responds. With the right attention, whether that's better sleep, more exercise, stress management, or open conversations, you can support your sexual health well into your later years. And if you ever feel stuck, reach out. Talk to a doctor. Talk to a partner. Or simply start by getting to know your own body again, without judgment. You've earned that freedom. And remember, being informed is one of the most empowering things you can do. If this video gave you some peace of mind, or helped you see things from a different angle, why not share it with a friend? Chances are, someone else in your circle has had the same quiet questions. And if you'd like to hear more honest, age-relevant conversations like this, covering everything from health to relationships to quality of life, go ahead and subscribe. That way, you'll always know when we release a new video designed just for you. Thanks for spending this time with me. Your health, your happiness, and your sense of connection, they matter. Not just to you, but to the people around you. So take care of yourself, stay curious, and keep exploring what it means to live well at every stage of life. Until next time.